Open your ears and crack some beers. You are listening to the latest episode of Retro Hangover.
Hello, retro and classic gamers. Welcome to the podcast where we whiz wailing walls wishing we walked whilst wiggling wangs. This is Retro Hangover. I am your co-host, Chris Copleen, with special guest, Coury from My Life in Gaming. And, as always, your host, Shane. Dick Wang Koski.
You know how you get wiggling wangs whilst walking, which, by the way, good use of whilst, but gray sweatpants, as it turns out.
That's more information than I care to know, and that's also accurate information.
Yeah, it's topical, Chris. It's relevant.
Very topical for this very, I guess, long overdue episode
of
our podcast.
God, this whole episode is just going to be a dick joke. My good Lord.
Welcome, Coury, to Retro Hangover.
Hey, I've been dying here because like when you were like yelling out your name, Discord's sound adjustment just like totally like made everything go quiet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I lovingly refer to that as when Chris goes to space.
It's great. It is great. All right, so we're talking about Dragon Wang.
Yeah, we are.
We have to. This is an episode, like I said, long overdue, well in the works. And I know this has become somewhat of a meme for yourself as well, Coury, over at the My Life in Gaming channel.
Yeah. You know, it wasn't until recently that I even played the game for real. So, I mean, what can I say? Like, I think that it became a thing when I did a video on EverDrives, which is, I'm sure, the way a lot of people have, played this in recent years, just playing it on like a Mega EverDrive, which can can play SG-1000 games. And I just saw that name in the list and I was like, how can I resist this?
We'll get more into that when we start talking about personal experiences. But while we got you here, Coury, we like to talk about, as we are wont to do. There you go, Shane. I didn't forget.
There you go. We are contractually obligated
to say that. We start out by talking about what we've been playing lately in our own like gaming lives. That was a terrible way to describe things. But so Coury, as our guest, why don't you go ahead and discuss what you've been playing lately? What's been on your TV or handheld?
Well, kind of some odd choices, I think. I'm kind of going through like a crunch time in my like quote unquote real job. Like I just haven't played anything that requires consistent playing, I guess. In a way, yes. I made a decision earlier, I guess like at the beginning of the year, to attempt to push myself outside of my gaming comfort zones and try some stuff that I had never really gotten around to before, or some genres that I've never really gotten around to before. The thing that the game that I'm playing is a visual novel called The House in Fata Morgana.
Yes. This is like the third time I've heard somebody bring this up now.
I had no idea what to expect. And I've seen people say like, oh man, this game changed my life. And I'm really struggling with it. I got to say,
really?
It is. I very rarely like read books these days. I got to say, the problem is that, as somebody who has like two younger kids, 7 and 10. Anytime I sit down to read a book or something like that, it just makes me want to fall asleep. That is exactly what's happening with this. And I've heard that the game picks up, supposedly like where I've gotten to, but man, it's been like a real struggle to get to this point. But I committed myself to say like, I'm going to finish this game. I don't care how long it takes me. I'm going to finish it, so that I can at least say that I made a real attempt at it.
There you go.
That game's like become the highest rated game on Switch through Metacritic of all time. And like
one of the top about 3. That, yeah.
It's nuts.
I'll feel bad if I don't like it, if I just say like, man, it just made me fall asleep. Because there's a few games in my life that have made me fall asleep. And anytime I tell people like, oh, you know, Shenmue made me fall asleep the first time I played it.
Fair. That's fair. Yeah, that's absolutely fair.
But you know, you get some people who are like, what, really? Yeah.
Do you not like forklifts?
You know, I'm not a big fan of games that put you on like a time limit, or like you got to be in these certain places at certain times to like manage your life, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The first Shenmue didn't let you fast forward time at all. I mean, as far as I know, it didn't. You know, sometimes I'd wait for something to happen or to, you know, wait for someone to show up, and I fell asleep. And that was like, I said, I can't do this. And then I've never finished the game as a result.
You were just ahead of your time.
Maybe. But, you know, like that's another game that I feel like I want to go back and give it another shot now.
That's definitely fair.
But outside of that, another sort of outside of my gaming comfort zone is like driving games. The kind of driving game I like is games where you can crash. So, you know, like Burnout and stuff like that. But I'm making a real attempt at a Ridge Racer game. I'm playing Ridge Racer 7 on the PS3, which is like really, really impressive for the time. It was like a launch game. You know, it's like runs at 1080p at 60 FPS. And it's like, it's not something that you really saw very often at that time. But it's good. It's good. I like it.
Yeah, I've only played the first Ridge Racer. I was not too terribly impressed, but I've heard later ones. I've seen gameplay footage of Ridge Racer 7, so I know what you're putting down there. And yeah, it looks like a really interesting game. It's probably not even that expensive nowadays either.
No, I think I got off of eBay last year, and it wasn't that bad, but I think it was even sealed. Like, I think there's a lot of, you know, like new old stock out there of it.
So Shane,
yes.
How about yourself? What have you been playing, my man?
Oh, well, you know, I'm taking a little bit of a hiatus from Elden Ring, not because I'm burnt out or anything like that, but I just feel like I needed to take a little bit of a breather. Went kind of hard into the paint on that one, such as it is.
Sure, you're not in Elden Ring Stockholm Syndrome, and you're just saying that just to not to madden the Elden Ring fans?
No. Like I'm still very much enjoying it. I just kind of wanted to switch it up for a little bit. So I'll go back to it. But so I suppose that technically I haven't said this on the show yet. I've mentioned it elsewhere, like in the Discord, and I think I talked about it on our stream. But I did finally get my Steam Deck. So I've spent some time getting that thing set up just the way that I want it. And it took a little bit of doing, not so much for the Steam portion. That's pretty much plug and play, which is really nice. But more of the giant emulation library that I have. Fortunately, some industrious folks out there put together some things called the MU Deck, which is a collection of scripts that sort of automates that process for you, specifically for the Steam Deck. And it made my life a lot easier with a little bit of tweaking, because I'm the weirdo that also wanted to have like custom bezel artwork for every single game, which shout out to the Bezel Project, by the way. They're amazing for that. I was able to get my entire emulation library on the Steam Deck with fancy artwork with the emulation station front end. And man, it's really nice. So far, I've been really enjoying that machine. The first game that I decided to play, sort of just kind of out of nowhere, is Dungeon Siege Throne of Agony for the PlayStation Portable. And you know what? I'm having a good time with it. It's rough around the edges, I'll say that. And I'll be doing a rapid fire review for our patrons on that at some point here soon. But suffice to say, it's not perfect. But as an action RPG and as someone who's a fan of the first Dungeon Siege, and I suppose the second one too, it kind of scratches that itch. So I'm having a good time with it. It's kind of a random pick, but I guess I'm glad that I started with that. And outside of that, at the time of this recording, the game everyone was waiting for, Diablo Immortal, was released yesterday.
I didn't even know it came out until
I do have a phone, so I am able to play this game. Of course, the devs sort of walked that one back because now they've got an open beta for the PC client available also. So it's not phone exclusive, although I have some thoughts about the game in general, but also that PC port needs a little bit of work. The controller mapping is hot garbage, and I'm not sure how you managed to do that, especially coming from a company that nailed it with controller support in Diablo 3. and somewhat to a lesser extent with D2 Resurrected. I'm not sure how they futzed this one up that badly, but the controller is just total crap. So hoping that gets fixed. But my plan for that game is basically to play it free to play until I hit the inevitable paywall and then probably call it good. The way I figure it is that way I can personally be a drain on Blizzard's resources by playing the game, but not paying them for it. And I feel like morally I am justified in doing this.
So that's not Diablo 4, though.
No, it is not.
Okay. Just making sure, because the name sounds vaguely familiar, but I couldn't tell you a single, like, what it even looks like at all. Especially if it's like
it looks like Diablo 3, basically. Okay. That's what it looks like. No, this was the thing that they announced in place of Diablo 4, infamously, on stage. And then Wyatt Chang didn't understand why everybody was booing him off the stage. For the record, I still feel bad for him about that. But yeah, so it's here. It's I'm not going to lie. It's fun to play. It is. Mm-hmm. It's a very well-made game, but the monetization scheme is just disgusting. But that's a whole topic in and of itself. So that's what I've been up to lately.
Sweet. I have been up to way too much. I don't know how. So I played through Fragrant Story, and it has a lot of influence from Tactics Ogre and Final Fantasy Tactics, which it's I don't think it's a coincidence when you consider he has William Cage got Hitoshi Sakamoto and Yoshimi Kudo to do the soundtrack. And that's really cool. Yeah. And who are from Final Fantasy Tactics and Final Fantasy 12. And then you have Gideon Emery and Nicole Fantel doing the voices in the game. And if you didn't know, they are the voices of Balthier and Fran from Final Fantasy 12.
That's really cool. I had no idea that it, had that kind of pedigree behind it.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's called Fragrant Story. So obviously there's an appeal to Ivalice. So
yeah, it's
really short. I need to play through it again because I'm starting to see the concept. I played through it once. But just so you know, Will, I am playing your game because I know you listen to this, and it's a good one. So thank you for getting it out there. It's quick, it's simple, and I can really appreciate it.
And even though I'm not a physical collector, I noticed that it is like $4 on the eShop. So I also picked it up just in case you were curious.
But it's impossible to get physical copies of it probably at this point.
Probably.
Yeah.
Because the other thing is like when he got all the games in, if you go to his site, it's like there's a big batch of it that came in damaged. So he made an update. Yes. And he did a minimum run of the games. So like with some of it being damaged, and I think he said he couldn't ship it out, it might end up being an even smaller batch than the minimum run of physical batches that Nintendo allows you to do.
Oof, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, another competitor to Limited Run. They should be called Minimum Run.
Acceptable run games.
We did a run games.
Yeah. We got as like the least amount that we could, and we're selling them. And if they get lost in the mail, there's no replacements.
Exactly. Other than that, the other games I've been playing, Eden Chronicle Rising is a game I've played through and I finished. I'll be doing an episode with Adam from The Good, Bad, and the Backlog. So be on the lookout for that on their stream. And I've also continued my year of Final Fantasy East and have played through East 3 Wanderers from East for the TurboGrafx CD. And I had a great time with that game, even though I can admit it is fundamentally flawed.
Yes.
It's still a good time. If you just put in the back of your mind, this is a 2-hour game. It's a bunch of dumb fun and the soundtrack's amazing. You'll have a good time with it. If I could sum that up in 10 seconds. And I've also started East Memories of Salsetta just to continue it on, waiting for the 4-Job Fiesta to start. By the way, we will be streaming the 4-Job Fiesta on Twitch as often as possible once it starts. So go to twitch.tv/retrohangover and watch us play the 4-Job Fiesta this year. We hope to see you there.
And by us, he means him.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Yeah, so you're playing through all the East games then. I was listening to the episode with Joe from GameSack that you did on East Book 1 and 2. And I didn't that's very cool that you're just playing through all of them. So have you played them previously? Like these specific ones previously?
No, so what kind of that episode kind of inspired it and kicked it off, because I was like,
okay.
I tell everyone like the E series is really good, and I had asked myself, have I played any of these damn games? No. So I need to do that to make myself an honest person when I recommend these games or criticize people for not liking them. So I have been doing that, and it's mostly been a positive experience so far, with the exception of one game, which is a Super Nintendo one. And I have a feeling the next one that I'll be disappointed in will also be a Super Nintendo one. But yeah, that's my intention, to try and get through all the East games, all 15 standalone titles before the end of the year if possible.
That's amazing. That's great. That's great. So when you say Super Nintendo, are you talking about the Super Nintendo version of 4, Mask of the Sun?
Yes.
Okay. And then also the other one I assume referring to is 5.
Yes, the Sand of Kefin. I'll see how that goes. I'm going to try and keep an open mind, because I don't want any really opinions to sway me, but I have heard it's rather disappointing. But I've also heard it's kind of set up where East went starting with 6 and onward. So the foundation is there.
Mm-hmm. It's directly overhead instead of like kind of at a like isometric angle, which is like the following games are like, the 3D ones.
Mm-hmm.
I have not played all the way through 5. Like that is the only one I've never played all the way through, as far as I know. At least basic versions of each game in the series.
Yeah, that seems to be a general consensus too. Mm-hmm. It's like it's rough.
Yeah, but I think that that'll be one of the next one they remake, though, at least.
Oh, I hope so.
And it's interesting. I mean, I'm not going to spoil anything, but just the fact that Ys 8 takes place like immediately after 5, and it's like in between those, in between 5 and 6.
Oh, so they got to do it. It has to happen.
Yeah. So
what also has to happen is Shane.
What? I have to happen?
Well, you don't have to happen.
Ominous.
You have to be, at least for the next 30 seconds to 2 minutes.
I am inevitable.
For what we call the brief history of the game we're covering today, which is Dragon Wang, but we will just be calling it Dragon Wang, because Wang's not as fun as Wang. So Shane,
yes,
could you please go over the brief history of Dragon Wang?
Based solely on the name alone, you ought to know why we're here today. But hey, it's not simply for the memes. There's still some history for us to explore, and granted, it's not much, but we have a segment to do here, and by God, we're gonna do it. So picture it, 1985. By this time, it was pretty clear that Sega's SG-1000 was, in the infamous words of Bernie Stolar, not their future, which may very well be the most diplomatic way to say, shit sucks, bro. The ill-fated console was getting absolutely slaughtered by Nintendo's Famicom in Japan, a far more powerful machine much better suited to bringing arcade-quality conversions to the home. This stark contrast between consoles can be effectively illustrated by comparing the Famicom's near-perfect port of arcade hit Donkey Kong and an utterly bastardized version of Congo Bongo on the SG-1000. Perhaps unsurprisingly, Sega was looking to move forward with its mid-gen hardware reboot, the Mark III, a beefier piece of hardware which, at least graphically, had a fighting chance of taking the Famicom head-on. Not one to leave their faithful fans behind, Sega ensured the Mark III would be backwards compatible with its semi-predecessor. This was achieved in large part with the inclusion of an additional slot for what Sega dubbed My Cards, credit card-sized cartridges with a twofold purpose: to allow Sega to develop smaller games and to cut down on manufacturing costs. The form factor of these cards was heavily influenced by the designer of the SG-1000, who thought the more bulky original cartridges looked too much like tombstones. To complete the compatibility connection between the two console cousins, Sega would release a hardware adapter for the SG-1000 known as the Card Catcher. Since SG-1000 games would almost exclusively go the My Card route from this point forward, Sega would need to release a title exclusive to the format in order to get consumers on board. Dragon Wang, an unapologetic homage to Irem's Jackie Chan licensed Spartan X, known simply as Kung Fu in the West, would be that game. seeing release in July of 1985. And that's really where Dragon Wang's significance comes to an abrupt halt. Due to it arguably being overshadowed by a superior game released around the same time, which received a port on superior hardware, Dragon Wang has been relegated to relative obscurity in most gaming circles. This was also during an era where developers rarely received credit for the games they created. Dragon Wang is no exception. Little to no solid information regarding the team that created it can be reliably found. It does, from time to time, get brought up due to its unintentionally amusing title, but that's really about it. Sega, however, did have enough faith in Dragon Wang to give it a follow-up for the Mark III, or Master System, with Kung Fu Kid, released in 1987. And that is your very brief history of Dragon Wang.
All right. Thank you, Shane, for that brief history. I thought before we really get into the meat of the Wang here.
Sure, yeah.
We briefly talk about the SG-1000 and just what that was, because I don't think a lot of our listeners know what the SG-1000 was, because, I mean, shit, 5 years ago, I wouldn't have forgiven people for not knowing what the Master System was. So, yeah, SG-1000. It's Sega's first console. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it never came out in the United States, and it was essentially a ColecoVision.
Well, there you go.
And it's not amazing.
It's not amazing.
Surprise, surprise.
In Japan, they had the SG-1000, which looks like a blue and white trapezoid with horrible controllers. And they made a revision. I think the Mark II, by the way, if you go and look up the Mark II, that console looks pretty damn cool. It still can't do much of anything. I mean, it's like hardware almost identical to a ColecoVision. I think there's a system that you can get that Coleco made that you can play SG-1000 games on in the United States. I'm not sure. That's the rumor, because the hardware is stolen or something. I don't know. It's what someone stole from somebody. I'm pretty sure Sega stole from Coleco. That's kind of the brief history on the SG-1000. And again, we never got it over here. In Japan, the Master System is fully compatible with SG-1000 games, including their Tombstone cartridges and the My Cards, but we would not be able to do that here in the States just because cartridge size differences and everything. Mm-hmm. And if you do want to know more about the SG-1000, Jeremy Parrish has a great video series about it on Segaiden, and Joe Redifer from GameSack, who was on the show before, made a video for every single SG-1000 game. And My Life in Gaming, which Coury here is a part of, briefly touches on the SG-1000 in their Mr. video. So go check those out.
Yeah, just like little bits here and there. I got to admit that the most experience that I had with the SG-1000 for the longest time was that you could have your mag look like it in Phantasy Star Online. And like you could have a mag that looked like a Master System as well. And that's like, I had no idea what it was at the time.
I didn't even know you could get those, or if you could, I wouldn't have cared, because this was back in 2000. I didn't know what those things were.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was like, yeah.
I wanted a Master System one because I was a Master System owner versus an NES owner.
There are dozens of us.
Yes. Not very many, but we made do with what we had. And I think we have a greater appreciation for the Master System overall because of it. Just a lot of people playing it for the first time be like, this is terrible. Like, these games are like not nearly as good as anything on the NES. But, I definitely have my thoughts on that. Like, I think that the Master System is a great system.
It has its appeal.
Yes.
As someone who's collected quite a bit of Master System games before it became just cost prohibitive. Yes, I can agree with that.
I didn't realize the price for it had gotten up there.
Most of the games I have are at the bottom half to bottom 3/4 of the price spectrum. So I don't have a Buster Douglas boxing or
Golden Axe Warrior.
No, I don't have Golden Axe Warrior either.
Right.
So like I do have Phantasy Star, of course, because that's a requirement. Because if you don't have that, you might as well not even be a Sega Master System collector.
That's very true. Best game on the system.
I would very much agree.
Do you have Gangster Town?
Yes.
Okay, good.
That's a great shooter, by the way.
It is.
I won't hear anything otherwise. But Let's get into the Wang now that we're here. It's time to rock out with our Wangs out.
All right, here we are.
Let's talk about our personal experiences with Wangs. Dragon Wang.
It's like, you care to be more specific there, or okay?
D-Wang, as the game calls it. Yes,
that's right. It was D-Wang.
D-Wang.
It is D-Wang.
Coury, you were kind of getting into it before we got into the brief history. So just your personal experiences, if you just kind of want to reiterate that.
Well, my personal experience is that it wasn't until very, very recently that I even played this game for real. You know, when I was doing a video on EverDrives a long time ago, and I saw it in the list of SG-1000 games, I was like, I can't resist trying that out. And essentially, anytime I have shown it in a video is me just dying.
Yeah.
It's like my character dying.
That's fair.
And that is like essentially like that was almost my entire experience with it until maybe like a year ago when I was like, I got to see what this is all about, because you view it as kind of just like I don't know what the exact term is for it, because it's not like a belt scroller type game, but it's you think at first that you only have like the one like plane of walking on, but you can go up and down the stairs or jump up and down. I'm getting way ahead of myself, or ahead of us, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I didn't play it until recently in the last year, and like for real, it's because it's a meme on the show. With me specifically, I was just see how many comments I can get about it in the comment section, I guess.
Actually, yeah. I mean, the reason we asked you to be on the show is, first of all, I mean, it's great for you to be on the show, period, in general. But that's kind of the thing is it became a meme on your show. And when Try was on for Beetle Adventure Racing, he was looking for the upcoming episodes list. And he's like, oh, you have Dragon Wang. Coury would love to be on that episode. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. Why? like, yeah, let's do it.
I think when you first messaged me about it, I was like, wait, do you think that you can like actually do a whole podcast like on this game?
I'm still not convinced of that, by the way, but here we are.
And I was like, we should talk about like these other games that are like it, like like Spartan X and Vigilante and stuff like that. You're like, oh no, I think we'll be all right. Well, we're gonna see how we do.
I think we're gonna be okay. I still do. I have faith in us. So my personal experience is very similar to Coury's. It's just, I don't know how I initially even heard of this game. I've just known about it for a while, kind of in the ether of video game knowledge space, I guess I should say. I don't know any other way to put it. Because the SG-1000 just been kind of popping up here and there throughout the ephemera of what is like gaming YouTube-ness and podcastness. Is just like, oh, like, yeah, we know about this. We have gamer cred and we're awesome nerds now. It's like, oh, okay. And Dragon Wang is one of those games. I'm like, that looks like an episode where we have Shane the Dick Dragon that we have to talk about Dragon Wang. And I have to play this game at some point. We have to do that. So actually, the first time I've ever played it for real was in preparation for this episode, because I just don't find myself playing SG-1000 games very often or at all. And here we are, and I'm ready for it. Shane, are we going to hear any deviations? You have to really church this up, man. You are the Dick Dragon. You have to be super motivated for the Dragon Wang episode.
Oh, great. Well, thank you. I'm glad that now I'm going to extra disappoint everybody listening. Thank you for that, Chris.
This is your game.
It absolutely is not.
Is it anybody's game? I don't know.
It's a good question. I don't know. I should have looked, because after playing it, I went and watched a long play, which is really stretching the term of long play, by the way. And I should have scrolled through the comments, because I am convinced that no matter what the game is, there's at least one person in the comment section of a YouTube video about it who's just like, oh, this was my childhood. This game's amazing. And I'm like, fuck you. No, it's not. I should have looked. There's got to be one for this. So for that one guy out there, you're welcome. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, this is another one of those ones. This is like Sin and Punishment, Chris. This is one of those where I didn't even know this thing existed until you just like rolled up in here and was like, hey, we're doing an episode about this game. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, yeah, it's Dragon Wang. It's on the SG-1000. Like, Great. Those are two things I don't know anything about. This is going to be fun. So yeah, that's my personal experience, in that I had none until maybe like 2 weeks ago. And then I played this game for about 5 minutes and was like, well, that was an experience. And here we are.
I just hope that nobody listened to this podcast, like look at us like, I was really hoping for some Dragon Wang experts on this episode and letting me down.
Oh, listen, if they've listened to this show at all, that is not what they're coming here for.
No. Well, maybe we did have the Sin and Punishment world record holder on last time. So.
I suppose that's true.
Really?
That's true.
That's cool. Great. That's a great game.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Right, Shane?
Star Successor's pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Star Successor. You know, I think it says a lot about Dragon Wang. Like, we're just talking about other games more.
Yeah.
This is not the first time this happened on the show either, where we got like a main topic and they were just like, yeah, but what about all these other things that just literally anything else? Let's talk about anything else.
Speaking about anything else, we could talk about the plot and writing if this even has
Look at
it.
that. He's saving it with this professional segue. My God. Let's do it.
You have to save your girlfriend. It's so original and not cliche. I would have to say this is the plot writing of the century right here. That your girlfriend got kidnapped by evil ninjas or whatever, and you have to go save her. So I mean, this was riveting stuff. Just riveting.
I played a translation of this. I don't know if all versions of it like have the text in English or not.
Mm-hmm.
You rescue your girlfriend at the end of every level. And they say, if you really want to impress her, you'll finish the next round. So I don't think it's even about rescuing her. It's just about like making her like you more.
No. Yeah, it's almost like she's in on it.
Yeah.
Oh, God. We're about to get into the deep lore of Dragon Wang.
I mean, why not? They didn't.
Yeah, Dragon Wang is actually a very meta social commentary about abusive relationships. And
your girlfriend is the Amber Heard of the SG-1000.
Topical, and definitely not going to date this episode at all.
Just Google Amber Heard if this is 2 years from now. You'll figure it out. Because it says only with true love can you become her hero. Try next round.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, right.
That confused the shit out of me because I was like, okay, well, because, okay, whatever. It's the whole like your princess is in another castle thing, right? Except she's not, because she's right there. Ostensibly, you saved her, right? Like, so shouldn't this game end after the first level? Like, you're done. You fought through the building. That's literally the plot. It's a paragraph, Chris. It's like there is building. There are bad men's in building. Fight dudes. Find lady. You did it.
Well, that's the
one
thing.
level. You're done.
You solved your problem with violence, and she wants you to solve your problem with love, which is why this game never ends.
I was going to say. It's an end. That's what this is. This game is purgatory for this man.
Okay, because I was confused because I was trying, like there's no cheats for this for me to use to see further into the game. So I watched some long plays, like 15-minute long plays, several of them, and they all like basically just like kill themselves like at the end of or at the beginning of the fifth level.
Yes.
Of round
Thank
5.
you.
Yep.
I did the same thing. I skipped through like 3 different videos because I watched one all the way through and I'm like, what is this man doing? Why is he just dying? Did he fall asleep? Like, what's happening? So then I went and watched like 2 other ones and I'm like, everybody's doing this. Like, is there something about this game that I'm missing?
Yeah.
Then I had to go digging and then I found out like, oh no, it's the game. The game's unfinished. That's what it is. They're just like, oh, just loop it again.
Well, it doesn't even seem like they loop it because you gotta. If it was looping, it would go back to having to only collect 3 keys. But I think it stays on 5, so it just like loops that last level over and over again, maybe.
That's what I'm gathering, because I played to like stage 6 or 7, and it was the same, like the stage layout too. So I guess, we're segueing into gameplay here. So already,
surprise.
Yeah, it's an endless loop. Your girlfriend is evil. She just wants to see you get beat up by people, and only with love will the game end.
No, this is my headcanon for this game now. Is that this is like an existential punishment for D. Wang. That's what I'm going with.
Once you love to learn yourself and turn the game off is when you are free. But yeah, once I made it to the 6th and 7th level, Not even the layout of the stage changed, just the color of the tiles, like your little dragon tiles. And yeah, everything was the exact same as it was in 4. So the 5 was the same as 4 and 6 was the same as 4 and 7 was. And that's what's like, okay, it's just going to continuously loop until I decide that my score is high enough or I'm just tired with life. And then I am done with it. And yeah, it seems to be an endless loop after stage 4.
I wonder if you ever can get a kill screen on it then. And if anybody out there's ever done that.
Oh, I'm sure. I don't think people cared enough. It can't be that long because it's less than 32 kilobytes. It's a tiny game.
Oh, I mean, is the flagship My Card game. So
yeah,
yes, yeah.
But somebody out there, if they can get a kill screen on it, they can make a whole documentary on it called The King of Wang.
The King of Wang.
Okay, so that's interesting though, because I came across this little tidbit. So here we go. This is the learning portion of the RHP episode. So everybody, so I always say don't say you never learn nothing. So here you go.
Put that Wang knowledge on the table.
Yeah, apparently that. Well, first of all, it's a very common surname, evidently, and it translates to king. So actually, this game is called Dragon King.
Yeah.
So King of Wang is really just King of King.
I'd watch that.
The King of Kings. Yeah.
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 Thank you for saving that. It was like complete silence after I said it.
I mean, technically you could also swap that around and call it the Wang of Kings.
The Wang of Kings.
Yeah. Go either way.
The Bellend of Wang.
That's actually the MacGuffin for the new Indiana Jones movie, by the way.
I'm excited.
But let's talk. Where the fuck do we go from here? Let's talk about how this game actually plays. Which, if you've played Kung Fu before, and if you're listening to the show, at least you know what Kung Fu is. A black box NES title. Then you've played this game. And you just go from left to right, punching baddies.
Excuse me.
Questionable hit detection.
Excuse me. You kick. Yeah,
you're right. There is no punching.
Yeah.
There is no punching. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter which button you use, by the way. It's all kick.
That's all a man needs, Chris, is just jump and kick.
Yeah, but it has.
Or it's his Wang.
Has that dreaded up to jump, which I hate so much.
Ugh. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I don't think it works terribly here, especially. But I can't imagine what it was like on an actual SG-1000 because they had those little joy pads in the controller.
Mm-hmm.
So that must have been awful. I feel bad for all you young Japanese children in 1985 who got an SG-1000 for Christmas and had to jump with the up direction. I don't know where you are today. I hope you're successful because it'd be very difficult for me to overcome that.
Yeah. I mean, up to jump is probably the old gameplay method that I like the least. Like that'll make me not want to play any game.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Yeah,
I will say what is a little bit innovative is it's kind of like an early Metroidvania.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, surprising.
Go on.
Yeah,
because you have to find your way through a map and you have to. I mean, you don't gain skills, but it's not like a direct left to right. Like that, you do have to navigate through a screen.
Yeah, by God, you might have to go right to left.
Well, yeah, or right to left, left to right.
And it is not immediately apparent. I know that I'd never known that you could do that until I actually, put some actual effort into the game.
Mm-hmm.
There's no easy tell that you can do that, I guess, except for a little gap in the ceiling.
You can also sequence break.
Oh, really? Oh, I mean, does it matter?
I guess technically that is true. My God, yes. This is the hot take of the episode. Dragon Wang was the first Metroidvania.
There you go.
Good Lord.
That allowed sequence breaking. I mean, there's maybe that's get it on games done quick next time.
I'm actually surprised that hasn't happened.
See if anybody can
get done quick with the Wang.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know too much more to say necessarily about the gameplay. It is really straightforward. I mean, you navigate a couple, different levels within each stage. You defeat boss characters to collect keys. Once you get all the keys, you move on to the next stage. Rinse and repeat. They do introduce a couple of different mechanics once you get past the first couple of levels. So I suppose that's interesting. You get the little sine wave ball comes flying at you. I will say I was surprised by the little Star Wars droid robot.
Yeah, right. I was like, what the heck is this?
I love that thing.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
That was really surprising. I mean,
okay. Speaking of like the boss characters, can we take a moment, since we're talking about the gameplay, can we just take a moment to talk a little bit about the progression of these characters? Specifically, I want to talk about how you go from dudes named like Bozo and like Nunchan, which by the way, these are just maximum effort went into these names.
I love Nunchan. Yeah, it's so great.
Well, Bozo is like, oh, he wields a bow staff. Nunchan is a nunchuck expert. Okay, great. First of all, fuck Warp Man. I just want to get that out there right now. I will say that I feel like it actually is strangely like innovative for the time to have a character that just like actually disappears and reappears in like random places. On some level, that's actually kind of cool, but it's also super infuriating. And I think that's just partly because of the controls being as they are. You kind of feel like you're walking through mud while this guy is just like teleporting around, nothing personal kid attacking you from behind. So there's that. But then you go through this progression of all these guys that are named like this, right? And then you get to the well, quote, air quotes, the last boss. Isn't it? He's just Jonathan. He's just a guy.
It's Jonathan.
It's like fighting through a bunch of dudes with like really awesome like gamer tags and then rolling up on a guy named Fred just out of nowhere. And not only that, my man is half a man. He's just legs.
He's like Warp Jonathan.
I don't even know what happened there.
What? Like, how did that happen? Like, who made that decision?
Like, was it that's what I want to know. Is like, was this intentional? Like, was this the twist ending of Dragon Wang? It's like your girlfriend was kidnapped by disembodied legs.
You could say he was so maneuverable he had a third leg.
Yeah, you could say that. I'm not going to, but you could.
The game is so unfinished that they had to they pulled the person who was programming away from the computer before he had designed the last boss completely.
He's like, wait, I'm not done.
He's like, no, he's reaching out.
No, get it on the my card. It's gotta go. Oh man. All right. So that's the gameplay. That's Dragon Wang in a nutshell. So there you go.
Well, how about the RNG? We got to talk about the RNG.
Oh, sure.
RNG is there.
Yeah.
I will say this. This game does not have any memorization patterns. It's completely different every single time you play it, which, by the way, is not a good thing.
No.
I'm just going to state that right now.
No, it is not.
So remember those little balls Shane was telling you about that you can maneuver? And I actually do appreciate them. I think there is a level of skill to be admired in order to dodge the balls as Wang dodges the balls. So you have to figure out if you need to jump over them or duck underneath them. They're just swinging all over the place.
But they're not, though. They're one of the few predictable things in this game, Chris. It's literally a sine wave.
But sometimes you gotta, depending on your movement, sometimes you can duck underneath them, or sometimes you have to move back and jump over them. It's all part of a pattern, which again, for a basic game on a basic system, it's kind of cool.
Sure.
What is not cool is when they throw these sine waves at you and they start throwing the knife throwing dudes at you and on top of the dudes that just charge you.
And a wall.
Yes, and a wall. That all this can happen at the same time. And by the way, you think you are equipped with a jump kick, which you think is cool. By the way, your jump kick doesn't do dick. All it does is just set you up so as soon as you land, you have to do another kick to kill what's ever in front of you.
It's a trap.
And that's about it. And there's three things. You can do a standard kick, a duck kick, and a jump kick, and the jump kick doesn't do a damn thing. Your low kick is probably extremely useful when used right. But yeah, your enemies are people who run up to you and kick you as soon as they run up to you, and you have to time it just right or else they will kick you first all the time. There are knife throwing people that you can jump over both knives, and that's essentially what you have to do in order to engage with them, because you can jump over the one he throws high, but you have to time it just right. And if you don't, you're going to get hit for a lot of damage. And then, like we already said, the sine waves. And by the way, if you happen to make it to a boss with less than 90% of your health, you might as well just quit. You might as well just die.
Yeah, every boss encounter is just it's a war of attrition. There's no skill involved there whatsoever.
Yeah,
especially against Jonathan and fucking Warp Man.
Jonathan's legs.
Jonathan's legs. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely pretty tough. I don't know. I appreciated how like non-linear it was, that you could just kind of go after these bosses in whatever order you felt like.
Yeah.
It's like the single good thing I have to say about it.
Well, yeah, you could go after Warpman first. Yeah.
Yeah, why not? You know, and then, but at least when you kill one of these bosses, the key you pick up like restores all your health.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you imagine if it didn't do that? Good Lord.
The perfect time to do a save state.
Yeah.
Yep. And if you die though, you gotta do it all again. There's no checkpoints.
Yeah. You can get 4 keys on a 5-key level, and if you die, you have no keys.
Yeah.
You have to get good at this game. That's probably why it's 15 minutes total.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can go to your friends at school and say, I made it to stage 3, and someone say, I made it to stage 4. Like, wow. And you put hours into it. But if you actually take the time, yeah, it's one of those games.
Yeah.
Really? Because I kind of feel like the more likely scenario is that you go to school and say, I made it to level 3 of Dragon Wang, and all your friends are like, but why?
Yeah. You what? Are you kidding me? I played Dragon Wang for more than 10 minutes. You what?
Yeah. We have a limited amount of time on this earth, Chris. Yeah. You're wasting it.
I know. With the way my life is looking, we might as well talk about something that may look a little bit better, which is graphics. What did you think about them, Corey? And remember, this is an SG-1000 game.
Yeah, I really like the Sega logo that shows up when you first turn the game on.
It did look good.
That's like the highlight. I gotta say.
Yeah, they started real strong with this one.
Yeah.
I kind of trailed off, but yeah.
I mean, you look at it and you compare it to something like even to like Kung Fu, which, you know, is a later on more powerful hardware. It's just like a black background, and the scrolling's not very smooth at all. You know, I think it does that thing like the Master System does with certain games where like the scrolling is really choppy because it's just like redrawing the entire screen over and over again, like at a lower frame rate. It's difficult to find anything really exciting or interesting to say about the graphics.
Yeah, I would happen to agree. There's not much interesting to say. I mean, I guess for an SG-1000 game, it looks okay. I do like the fact that they put a lot of effort into the tiles, that you can clearly see 2 dragons.
Yes.
So that is good. But for a ColecoVision game, I have to give some credit where credit is due. They can put more than 4 character sprites on the screen at once who are all trying to attack you, even though they will stand still and not do anything until you clear one out. But I will say they do that.
Oh, that reminds me. Technically, this probably should have been part of the gameplay, but you know, whatever. We're off the rails anyway, so here we are.
We're here.
Yeah. No, one of the things that I found really entertaining about this game was when you're on basically any level except the bottom floor, right? So anywhere where there's like a hole, and you run over, and if you've got dudes like chasing you, and you run and you jump over that hole. I just love how they all just stop at the end of at the edge and just like look at you, and they're just like, foiled again by this small hole.
Strategy.
And sometimes it's there's a trap door.
Oh yeah.
Oh, fuck those. Yeah. I can't believe you didn't bring those up. Fuck those fucking trapdoors.
But anyway, graphics, am I right? I don't know. Like, I mean, honestly, the first thing that I thought of was our episode on Black Belt when I was playing this.
Oh, and that's an excellent game.
I was just like, yeah, this feels pretty similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I given the era that this came out in, I mean, I guess it's, it's whatever. It's fine. I think it's kind of mildly hilarious that it took Chris saying that the floors had images of dragons on it for me to realize that that's what that was. So I learned something today.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I when you first said that, I was like, oh yeah. Like, like I noticed it too. I didn't. I'll admit that I had to like look up a screenshot of it.
Yep. So did I. And I was like, oh, okay. I just thought those were like neat squigglies. Yeah. I didn't. Okay. That's what that is.
The Dragon Wang goes hard on the dragons.
So hard.
Definitely. I don't know if your experience was any different from the brief amount of time that I put into this game, which I know is what everybody loves to hear when they're listening to an episode about a game. They're just like, yeah, I kind of looked at it. I don't know. It didn't really have any like slowdown or anything. So from a performance perspective, it's got that going for it.
No.
Yeah, I suppose.
All right. So we're clearly stretching on this one. So Chris, give us one
Very
of your
much so.
patented segues.
Well, speaking of things that where you're done in 30 seconds and finishing, Shane, let's talk about the music.
Ooh.
Oh, that's not where I thought that was going. All right.
Because there's only one song, and it's 30 seconds long, and it finishes.
Oh, yep.
Yep.
I think 30 seconds is being generous, too.
This game is only 15 minutes long, and that was already too much.
And even
Yes.
that 30 seconds is just really repetitive sounding. But there is, there is a little bit of music that plays every time you die, which is, people who have watched our show, like that is the piece of music that they are most familiar with in the game.
Yeah, you'll get used to hearing that.
Would you say that when you die, that's the climax of the musical experience?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah. There's a little bit of a jingle when you complete the levels too. That's slightly different.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I gotta be honest though, even as far as like in the pantheon of level completion jingles, this one not great. Really isn't.
Yeah.
No.
It's no like Sonic the Hedgehog when it comes to the ending level.
I mean, no, but
Jingle.
Come on, what is, right?
No.
That would be a good podcast. The podcast episode is like ranking the end of level jingles.
Oh shit! You just gave us an idea for our our flight episodes. There you go. Top 5 jingles.
Sounds like something I'd like to listen to.
Ooh. We could definitely do that.
We could take a sound bite of that. There you go. Use it for promotion. That's something I'd like to listen to.
Not this music though.
No, definitely not.
Absolutely
Definitely not the music. I mean, it is.
There's worse.
Yeah. I've heard worse.
I mean, there's buzzsaws. I mean, there's plenty of other things you can listen to that are objectively worse than this.
Comparing it to something that is much newer, I'd rather listen to this music than the music from Gaia's Navel in Secret of Mana, which I think is like one of the most obnoxious sounding pieces of game music I've ever heard. But I'd rather listen to Dragon Wang over that.
Remember, Dragon Wang is good to insert into your ears for very short amount of times. Do not insert Dragon Wang for too long.
Yes, if you experience Dragon Wang for 4 or more hours, please consult a physician.
Yeah, and please use protection at all times.
Yes.
Always. The mute button is great protection. All right. I already mentioned the miscellaneous that I had going into this episode, which is it's technically pronounced Wang instead of Wang, but again, that's not fun.
Nobody says that.
No.
Nobody's going to say that when they read this ever.
Did either of you have any miscellaneous you wanted to bring up?
I did. My miscellaneous is that the sequel, Kung Fu Kid, is pretty good.
Oh,
Yes, it is.
so this is like the Sin and Punishment episode.
Yeah. I think the first Sin and Punishment is good, but this is, but the second one is even better. The sequel, it's evolves the gameplay a bit. It definitely plays similar, but you can jump off of walls to get to like higher levels and stuff. It's pretty good. I'm saying
endorsement.
It's pretty good.
It's all right.
Selling it even further is that like I think until recently, like I didn't even know I owned this game, and I was just very surprised to see that I did. So I mean that goes to show you that I've never really spent much time with the sequel, maybe at all. Like I think that my only real experience with the sequel was, a screenshot like in a poster that was like included with Master System games of like other games that were coming out for the system. And I remember thinking like, oh, I like how his jumping animation looks, that frame of animation.
Well, see, there you go. You can say that Dragon Wang acted as the gateway to an objectively better game.
Yeah.
And it is the same character too.
It
is.
is,
The character
yeah.
in Kung Fu Kid is named Wang, whatever.
Even in the US version too. I was surprised. But it's good. It's good. I just think I think it's worth checking out to like lessen your disappointment with Dragon Wang. This is probably
It's
worth
a palate cleanser.
Yeah.
the sequel Kung Fu Kid is a better Wang to swallow.
Yes,
than
100%
than the original.
That's a good way to put it. Nice.
Yeah. All right. So we're at the end of this episode. Some of you are probably thinking, thank God. If you're still here, if you are, thank you. It's been a lot of fun. I don't care.
Can you imagine this being someone's first episode of the show?
Oh my God. I'm having fun though.
I'd be nervous about like how many people is this going to be their last?
That's a good point.
Like I can't handle this.
But you never forget your first Wang. You never forget.
Oh, you're telling me.
Yeah, that's right.
But we have to answer the question of whether or not this game holds up today. No. I guess I'll start off on this one. We do.
Do we though?
I'll start out.
Yeah, go ahead.
For this one, and we'll let Coury provide the final word as he is our guest. So I will say that no, it does not hold up today.
Shocker.
Of course, I think you've picked that up by now. I will say that for an SG-1000 game and a game that is probably better fit in the second generation of gaming than the third generation of gaming, it's not horrible. Okay, there's a lot of games on the Atari library, Coleco, and Television that this game is certainly better than. I haven't played a lot of the SG-1000 library. All the games I play in the SG-1000 library is Dragon Wang, but I have a feeling that this is probably one of the better ones just by looking at a lot of the gameplay footage. If you didn't have an NES or a Famicom in 1985 and you wanted to play Kung Fu, this was Kung Fu at home. It's not the worst thing you could have gotten at the time, but now there's absolutely no reason to go back and play it. I agree with Coury. I'd highly recommend just skipping to Kung Fu Kid on the Sega Master System and just enjoy the name of this game as we have for the past hour. Shane?
I mean, yeah, no, like what? No, of course not. I would never. This might actually factor into a future Flight episode talking about games that we would give to our worst enemies. Like that's no, sure. I think Chris pointed out, right, that there are, maybe some minor redeeming factors for the game, especially in the context of 1985. Mm-hmm. Sure.
That's important.
However, is this something that I would suggest anybody actually sit down and play today? No, definitely not. It's not even worth the 15 minutes it takes to get through it. Like if you're really that interested, just go watch one of the long plays. You'll get everything you need out of it. Because really the most entertaining thing about this game outside of the name is probably that really nice Sega logo at the beginning. And that's about it.
It's clean. So clean.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
all right, Coury.
I think that the only thing that really holds up today about this game is its name. We got to keep it alive some way or another. Just, always busting it out when I need to show a bad game and a character dying.
And busting it out does make you feel good.
It does. But I actually do, because I've made a thing of this. Like I actually do own a physical copy of the game.
Wow.
Because, why not? Why not? It's the only SG-1000 game I have. I reason like if I need to show an SG-1000 game on camera, what else would I want to show but Dragon Wang?
I mean, it's hard to argue with that logic. I'll be honest.
I agree.
Yeah. I don't know. I just wouldn't. You could probably have a better time playing like almost literally any other game.
There's a lot of stuff on like itch.io that you could probably get yourself into.
Are you saying it's itchy Wang?
I mean, we talked about this already, without protection, who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah. We cannot let the legacy of Dragon Wang go flaccid.
What?
Is there a way that we could like start a petition for like an HD remaster or something, or like a spiritual successor? Can we get someone to make like Wang King?
I wish.
HD Wang.
Yeah. Wang now in high def.
If that's what HD stands for in your dictionary, buddy.
Yeah, because it's not Urban Dictionary. Fucking degenerate.
But I think it's fine to just go on living your life, not having played this game.
There you go. So to sum up, your life is objectively better off for not experiencing Dragon Wang. We did for you, so you're welcome.
You know what I kind of wish, though, is that I could not find anything about like who worked on this game.
No, I couldn't either.
I'm going to be mortified. It's like, oh, it's like Ryoko Kodama like worked on this. I'm like, oh, geez, like.
We all have to start somewhere.
Yeah, but I mean, she started with like, what is it? Like Ninja Princess?
Ninja Princess. Yeah. Which is a great game.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just couldn't find anything like on Moby Games or anything like who worked on this.
Yeah, I looked the same places.
And the game doesn't have an ending, so there's no way to even compare that.
Yeah, there aren't even any credits.
The sequel doesn't have any credits either. It just, when you beat it, just says the end. And that's it. And it goes right back to the title screen.
Such a horrible time of gaming history of in terms of credit, in terms of people getting their just due. I mean, look, we can make fun of Dragon Wang all we want to in terms of it's just poor quality today. And a lot of those games from that time period, absolutely. Like you reflect back, they're not good. But still, someone worked on that game.
Yeah. If you grew up with them, then you have like another feeling about it. But yeah. I mean, as someone who didn't play a lot of those games like when I was like really, really young, like I just don't have any patience for most of them. Like 98% of them.
But still, someone worked on that game and they worked hard to get it underneath 32 kilobytes to put it on a stupid My Card. Like they deserve something. And maybe there was a big name part of that bunch. Maybe there wasn't. We don't know. It's kind of like Castlevania. Like the people who made the first 3 Castlevanias, we're never going to know for sure who made those games. And that's a travesty of that era. And, hopefully we never get back to a situation where it's like that ever again.
You want to know why there's no ending credits, though. I mean, not because there's no ending, because the person who was doing Jonathan's legs, doing Jonathan's sprite design, was responsible for doing the credits afterwards. But as we know, they got pulled away with their hands on the keyboard.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, you're talking about trying to fit this on a My Card. Like, they had to sacrifice half a man to get that on there.
He was out sick that day, okay? Look.
Well, I suppose that probably brings our discussion of Dragon Wang to a merciful close.
Too much Wang.
Yeah. You can only have so much, But so first and foremost, of course, we would like to thank our esteemed guest for being on the show today. So, Coury, it has been a pleasure having you on, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
For the fine folks at home, if they don't already know, or if it's exited their brain from earlier in the episode because of what just transpired, could you fill them in on where they can find you and what you do on the internet?
So I am one half of the creative team on a YouTube channel called My Life in Gaming. And we do like deep dives into console hardware, along with like documentaries every once in a while, other like silly subjects that cover like a lot of games in every episode. And we can't stop our episodes from getting longer and more detailed. It's a curse.
Is this another Dragon Wang thing?
Maybe.
Oh.
It's the length of our show is akin to a Dragon Wang at this point.
There you go. Now also a unit of measurement. Well, as far as we're concerned, if you happen to be listening to this, then coincidentally, that means you've already found us. So hi, hello, welcome. We're glad that you're here. If you'd like to engage with the show outside of just let it passively enter your ear hole and exit out the other side, you can do that. And not only can you do that, we make it very easy for you. All you have to do is head on over to linktree/retrohangover. That's linktr.ee/retrohangover. And you'll be presented with a finely curated collection of buttons that all lead you to places that are related to us, whether that happens to be our socials or our public Discord, where you can jump in and join our fantastic community that we've got going on there, or the YouTube channel, or, this show, I guess that might be important. And also our Twitch channel, which Chris is going to tell you a little bit more about what we do there.
Yeah, I briefly mentioned it at the start of the show, and you can go to twitch.tv/retrohangover, where we have our Sunday streams Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern time, which unfortunately collides with My Life in Gaming stream on YouTube. Sorry, Coury.
It's all right.
They start an hour early, so make sure to tune into them and prime yourself for ours.
Just have it up on 2 screens.
That's even better.
There you go.
So twitch.tv/retro hangover. You can head over there. As I said, when the 4-job fiesta starts, which it probably has by the time you're listening to this episode, I will be streaming it on Twitch as much as I possibly can. Just outside of our Sunday night streams, you might catch us on just random days, just me streaming some Final Fantasy V. So come by, say hi, subscribe once again for the millionth time, twitch.tv/retro hangover. And back to you, Shane.
Fantastic. And with all of that being said, until next time,
play with your heavy and stiff Wang joysticks.